And a beautiful afternoon here in Port St. Lucie, Florida. The crowd is out in force as Team Puerto Rico will take on the New York Mets. And hi, everybody. I'm Brian Kenny alongside Steve Phillips. And Steve, you and I were down on the field, and I think it's really just hitting these players now. They're playing for Puerto Rico, and all the guys are together. They're all excited. And I think as everybody looks up and down the rosters of who's on what team, we're all wondering, how good are these teams? How good is Puerto Rico?
Well, they have a chance to be very competitive in this tournament. They lack some pitching depth. After Javier Vazquez, they don't have any other aces, but the offense is going to be there. It'll pick up the slack. Some of baseball's biggest bats, including the two Carloses for the Mets, Delgado and Beltran, Bernie Williams of the New York Yankees, Pudge Rodriguez, Javi Lopez, some of the best offensive players in baseball. They'll be very well represented for the Puerto Rican team.
Again, the New York Mets are expected to be among the best teams in the National League. They needed some pop. They got Carlos Delgado. They needed a closer. They got Billy Wagner. They're stacked, but they've got some holes. We're going to get to see some young players that might fill those holes today.
Well, that's right. Everybody looks ahead to the future, and for the New York Mets, two of the top young prospects, young lasting Millage playing center field today and leading off. He's the guy the Mets were very reluctant to put in a Manny Ramirez deal, and Big Mike Pelfrey, #1 draft pick last year out of Wichita State, 6'7" right-hander, dominating stuff. We're going to see him pitching today as well. So the future and the present here for the Mets today.
And again, Team Puerto Rico getting ready to go to San Juan. It will be crazy there, but it's very interesting here today as well. You'll see Team Puerto Rico. You'll see a lot of pitchers as well. Join us for the first pitch when we come back. Exhibition baseball here in Port St. Lucie, Florida. Again, the Team Puerto Rico getting ready for San Juan, round one, Tuesday when they play, but right now just warming up against the Mets. First time in uniform. Duke Castiglione is down by the Puerto Rico dugout. Duke?
Well, Brian, I had a chance to talk to Carlos Beltran before the game. He said he has mixed emotions. He's very proud to be playing for Team Puerto Rico, but he said, hey, this is weird. I'm going against my teammates who I play 162 games with. And Bernie Williams, he too said he's proud to be playing for Team Puerto Rico, but he said, I stick out like a sore thumb here. I'm playing with a bunch of Mets. I'm playing against the Mets, and I'm at Mets camp. As far as Cliff Floyd goes, well, he said, these guys in Team Puerto Rico today that are Mets, they're not my teammates today. We're playing for keeps. Fellas, back to you.
Yeah, Duke, it's a transition for everybody, including for the players. And you see Bernie Williams, a nice touch there. The Yankee great will get the first at bat for Team Puerto Rico. Then Pudge Rodriguez, Carlos Beltran, Javi Lopez, that's some real power. Jose Cruz Jr., Jose Valentin, who's with the Mets, didn't have to travel far. Alex Rios, Alex Cintron, and Alex Cora. The Alexes in the bottom third of that lineup. There's some real power in the middle there, Steve.
Well, there's no doubt. They've also cornered the market on Alexes today, and I'll tell you, some real thunder there. Carlos Delgado, the Mets first baseman, also on the Puerto Rican team, not playing today with a sore elbow, but a lot of thunder, not a lot of speed, but they're going to have a chance to score a lot of runs in this tournament.
Again, game one will be Tuesday evening against Panama. That's in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And Jose Oquendo before the game told us that Carlos Delgado expected to be able to play that evening when it counts, but they're just going to rest him up here today. Doesn't make sense to expose him out there on the field.
Well, Delgado, a little tendonitis in that elbow. He had it last spring training as well, and they just want to give him a couple days off and make sure he's right. And they know that if, in fact, he can't go, they'll be able to substitute for him and slot somebody else on the roster.
You know, Javi Lopez will play first base today, and I asked Javi before the game, just, you know, what is it like? And he said it's a thrill. You know, most of these guys spent their formative years in Puerto Rico. There is a real pride, and I think, look, a lot of fans might not be excited about the World Baseball Classic until they see it. And I think there's definitely more excitement if you are from Latin America than there is if you're a United States player. But once we see this out taking place, then we can make a better judgment.
Well, this is an appetizer for the entree, which will be the tournament. I think today you're going to see a lot of smiles on this field. Guys who love playing the game, who are excited about playing some of the stars. Talked to Alex Cintron, the young infielder from the Arizona Diamondbacks. He said, this is a thrill. He said, I've got Pudge Rodriguez, Carlos Beltran. He said, I want to learn how they prepare for games, and I want to play side by side and represent my native Puerto Rico. So they're very excited. It's going to be an awful lot of fun.
And here come the New York Mets. Kind of a split crowd. Of course, Met fans are here to see their team, but bigger crowd here today than there was yesterday afternoon. I was at yesterday's game, and there's a lot more excitement here today. A lot more flags as well. On the hill for the New York Mets, Jeremy Gonzalez. It'll be Dickie Gonzalez on the other side, but Jeremy Gonzalez comes in. Spent 2005 with the Red Sox, had a lot of success in the minors. Not a lot of success, as you saw the ERA over 6 with the big club in Boston.
Well, Gonzalez has bounced around a little bit. Originally a Chicago Cub, had a lot of injuries, pitched with Tampa Bay and the Red Sox last year. The Mets signed him as a free agent. The one thing about Jeremy Gonzalez, pitched extremely well in the Caribbean Series for Team Venezuela. They wanted him to participate in the World Baseball Classic, but he's vying for the 5th starter spot in the Mets rotation. He doesn't want to leave camp.
Here are the Mets defensively. What gets your attention is Lastings Millage in center field. Carlos Beltran, of course, playing for the other guys today. Xavier Nady in right field. He played left yesterday. Cliff Floyd in left. At shortstop with Jose Reyes out, Chris Woodward is at short. Kaz Matsui battling for his position at second. Brett Harper, Brian Harper's son, at first base, former major leaguer Brian Harper, and the, I don't want to call him the phenom, he's the real thing already, future superstar David Wright at third. Ramon Castro behind the plate as Paul LaDuca has a little tendinitis, kind of like Carlos Delgado, a little dinged up, and he's going to get a rest. But here's Bernie Williams to start things off in the first at-bat ever, even though it is exhibition play, for Team Puerto Rico.
And as conflicted as Bernie was before the game, we heard from Duke Castiglione, it sounds like the fans are somewhat conflicted as well. Mets fans booing and Puerto Rican fans cheering.
You're right, that's raucous on both sides, because that's Bernie Williams. Look, that's a great Yankee in front of these Met fans, but it's also a great Puerto Rican player. 14th year with the New York Yankees, the foundation of the Yankees dynasty. And he takes it low. Bernie, before the game, just said it made sense to come back and play with the Yankees. He said, what, 14, 15 years with New York? Because I had to stay. So he took a lot less money, but I don't know if he would have gotten any more money anywhere else. Ground ball, second base. Out number 1 by Kaz Matsui.
Well, Bernie Williams at camp today, a lot of the New York media asking questions of him, of George Steinbrenner's comments about the World Baseball Classic and how he feels participating, knowing that maybe the boss isn't overwhelmed by the idea.
Well, I tell you what, I was surprised. It's one thing not to be enamored of this idea if you're a GM or an owner, as Pudge Rodriguez will come in. But if I wasn't at Legends Field, but in Tampa there was a sign apologizing to fans for some of the Yankee stars not being there. I don't know if that's necessary, Steve.
Well, the boss has some strong feelings about it. He's gotten it out there pretty good, been very vocal and been a little bit negative.
In for a strike, Jeremy Gonzalez. Pudge Rodriguez with an awful 2005. All of his numbers way down. Lastings Millage drifts back, and 2 outs. How is Millage defensively? We're going to talk about him offensively, but how do you think he is out in center field?
Well, I think he's a solid young player. I mean, again, he has to learn to experience everything, read the balls off the bat. A good reaction right there, moving back quickly off the ball. He's a guy that's profiled as a center fielder. Now, with Carlos Beltran here, he may ultimately go to a corner, but they love his bat.
Raucous with all cheers for Carlos Beltran. Mets center fielder takes a strike. Beltran also with a big letdown last year after the huge contract. He'll still just be 28 years old this year, though still expected to be that complete power speed package in center field for the Mets.
Well, it's so difficult when players first go to New York after big contracts. The expectations are so high, especially with his deal. The expectation was to be the voice and face of the organization as well, and it puts on a lot of pressure.
1-2. Nice off speed from Gonzalez. He was never that guy before, Steve. Again, you're a GM. You think you can wish something upon a player, but you're not going to change what the guy is. And Beltran is a marvelous all-around player, but he was never a team leader with the Royals, and never a huge power hitter until that stretch run with the Astros. Nice shot here, right field. Xavier Nady, one step on the track, and the side is retired. So Team Puerto Rico taking its first at bats, but Jeremy Gonzalez, no damage done. Mets take their shot next. We're underway here in Port St. Lucie. Puerto Rico 3 up, 3 down in the top of the first for Jeremy Gonzalez. And now the New York Mets take their shot at things. Lastings Millage trying to earn a spot on this club. Unlikely, but first round pick. Kaz Matsui, David Wright batting third, Cliff Floyd, Xavier Nady, the ageless one, Julio Franco, Ramon Castro, then Brett Puckett, big club, and Chris Woodward at shortstop. Dickie Gonzalez played 2005 in Japan getting the start here in this exhibition game for Puerto Rico.
Dickey, originally drafted by the New York Mets organization, got a taste of the major leagues in 2001, has bounced around a little then, has found a home in Japan, and has pitched very well there.
Leading off for the Mets is Lastings Milledge. Fakes the bunt. 20 years old, super prospect, number 12 overall pick in 2003. Nice numbers in Double-A, Steve, and tell me what this says to you. 392 on base, 487 slugging in Double-A at the age of 19.
It means you ought to be in Major League camp leading off against Team Puerto Rico. This is a good-looking kid, and a lot of trade talk this offseason. The Mets dabbled in the Manny Ramirez sweepstakes, and one of the players that was key to any deal, essential to the deal, was if Lastings Milledge was included, and ultimately it didn't get done.
Hitters count, wrap back up the middle. Gonzalez recovers. We take a look at Team Puerto Rico defensively. Bernie Williams is DHing, so he's not out on the field. Carlos Beltran in center, flanked by Jose Cruz Jr. and Alexis Rios. Pudge Rodriguez behind the plate. Javi Lopez at first. Alex Cora, Alex Cintron up the middle, and Jose Valentin at third.
You build a team, you want strength up the middle, and this team can flash some leather up the middle. Pudge Rodriguez behind the plate, Carlos Beltran in center, and tell you what, Cora and Cintron can play some defense as well.
Still hard to run on Pudge Rodriguez. Again, offensively fell way back, but defensively still stellar. And that is a strike to Kaz Matsui, who is fighting for his second base position, Steve.
Well, that's exactly right. That's one of the wild card positions. You talked to Willie Randolph before the game. He says second base is open right now.
Just inside. Matsui 300 on base last year. That's not his batting average. Willie Randolph told us, yeah, wide open. I said, how would you I was careful. How would you characterize, I asked, the second base position? He said wide open, but he thought that Matsui would win that position. Bounce out to first. He hoped. He said he felt in his heart he would, but it's got to be proven. You have to have better than a 300 on base to stay in the major leagues.
Willie's a good organizational guy. One of the reasons he wants Matsui to be that second baseman is because they're paying him $7 million this year. And they don't want to have him sitting on the bench making that kind of money. But young Anderson Hernandez acquired last year in a deal with the Tigers for Vance Wilson, and Jeff Keppinger as well, a candidate there. They actually had Brett Boone in camp earlier this spring, who has since retired. So it's a tryout camp right now for the Mets at second base.
David Wright steps in and takes a ball on the inside part of the plate. Behind the plate, it's Dusty Dellinger. David Wright with a sensational rookie year. That's up top for a strike. 388 on base, slugged 523. And what a find for a team that, Steve, has been bereft of talent at third for most all of its history. You filled that spot pretty well one time, probably better than anybody has in Mets history, as that's in for a strike with Robin Ventura. But the exception of Ventura and maybe a Wayne Garrett spike year, there hasn't been much production at third base for the Mets.
Howard Johnson had a few good years, but this kid right here is going to be a star for a long, long time. I mean, the makeup, character, talent. This kid is the entire package. I mean, you ask him a question. The thing I like about him, he still calls me Mr. Phillips, which I kind of like. We drafted him and knew he was something special. And I mean, he's been even better than Bill. Signed as a sandwich pick a few years back, and he just keeps getting better and better.
The 2-2. Tell you what, first full season in the majors last year. Again, 388, 523 slugging at third at the age of 22 in a pitcher's park. Wow.
Well, you know, Willie Randolph protected him. He had him batting down in the lineup 6th and 7th for most of the year, and then slowly moved him up and put him in a key spot, and he responded.
Nice hook from Dicky Gonzalez. Strikes out David Wright. No score here in Port St. Lucie. No score, top of the second. Team Puerto Rico and the New York Mets. 3 up, 3 down in first inning on both sides. So Javi Lopez steps in for Team Puerto Rico. First baseman out of Baltimore. Not the huge season anticipated with the Orioles last year, but still a dangerous power hitter.
Well, Javi transitioned to first base now with the signing of Ramon Hernandez, free agent, and Javi's moving back behind the dish to first base.
Injured a good part of last year as well, and Lopez 322 on base, 458 slugging last year in 103 games. A few years back, set the single-season catcher record for slugging. A monstrous year with the Braves that put him into his free agent year. Lopez, you got to wonder defensively at first. Now, people just always think, Steve, you throw a guy, he's catching, throw him at first in his later years. Can he do that?
I think he's going to be okay down there. We saw a little bit of it last year. I think he's going to be adequate there. Certainly not average, but adequate to be able to play the position. And he's in the lineup for his bat.
It'll be Lopez, Jose Cruz Jr., and Jose Valentin for Team Puerto Rico. Jeremy Gonzalez pitching for a spot in this Mets rotation. That number 5 spot's wide open. Stays 2-2.
You know, with Javi Lopez, your Baltimore Orioles, he's away from the team, joining Team Puerto Rico for the World Baseball Classic. The Orioles have been hit about as hard as anybody with players defecting camp to go to join teams. 4/5 of the starting rotation gone. Their top 3 catchers, and oh, by the way, Miguel Tejada, and they have a new pitching coach in Leo Mazzoni who wants to get the pitchers all straight.
Yeah.
He doesn't have anybody to teach right now.
That's an excellent point. That Mazzoni method is going to be tested this year to see if he can work wonders with another team. Matsui drifting. Brett Harper is there, and there's Matsui. We do have some news to report here, and sad news right now. Kirby Puckett suffered a stroke earlier today. The Twins said Puckett had a stroke actually Sunday morning at his home in Scottsdale, Arizona. He was then brought to the hospital and then transported for surgery, and it's said that he's undergoing surgery right now. So again, Puckett had a stroke early this morning. Again, this is a Hall of Fame player. This is one of the warmest people you'll ever meet in the game, and we can only hope for the best that he gets through that surgery, Steve.
Boy, there's no question about that. I mean, one of the characters of the game, beloved by Minnesota fans and really everybody in baseball, and obviously our wishes and prayers go out to Kirby and his family.
Jose Cruz Jr. takes a strike. He's such a warm guy. I see him in Cooperstown at the Baseball Hall of Fame each year, where, of course, again, he's a Hall of Famer. And he was standing there this year at one point on the 0-2. And Marv Levy, Buffalo Bills, now back with the team, but a longtime coach, came up to a group of us, and I said hello to Marv, and Kirby said hello, and Marv said, "I'm sorry, you are again." And someone turned around. We were in the gallery. Someone turned around and said, here he is, pointed to his plaque, Kirby Puckett. And Marv goes, "Oh, so you are. You know, so you are, young man." Rip base hit down the line. Into the corner and through the corner. Xavier Nady went after it, but it somehow slipped through. There's a double for Jose Cruz Jr.
Well, Jose Cruz Jr. wanting to play left field this year for the Dodgers, and good piece of hitting, a little sinker ball down and in. He turns on it, rips it down the line, and no chance to get to that ball. Nady a long ways away, long run, and fan gets himself a souvenir down the right field line.
And Kirby Puckett undergoing surgery now, so just we put up some bio information there, and again, we'll keep you posted. Latest news, of course, you could go to ESPN News, and they'll keep you up to date on the latest information regarding the stroke of Kirby Puckett. Jose Valentin steps in. Valentin takes a strike. Valentin with the Dodgers last year, now with the New York Mets. Played for the Mets on this very field yesterday afternoon. In for a strike.
Well, Valentin hampered by injuries last year with the Dodgers, one of the many Dodgers injured and missing playing time, but I think a great sign by Omar Minaya and the New York Mets as a utility player to have this kind of thunder coming off the bench from the left side. I think a great pickup. He could spell David Wright at third base, and a day he could give Jose Reyes a day off playing shortstop, maybe fill in at second base, but boy, when he's in the lineup, you've got a chance for a home run.
Some real versatility as well with the Mets now. When you have Chris Woodard there, Xavier Nady, these are guys who can play 4 or 5 positions.
Well, the National League is critical too. I mean, when you're going to pinch hit for the pitcher and you need to make a double switch, having versatility on the bench for the manager is a real asset, and I think something Willie Randolph's going to appreciate this year.
They got to play on him at second. Not in time for Cruz. That'll be the test on Omar Minaya. He goes big game hunting with the best of them, but can he fill those spots?
Well, we see the pickoff right here. Jeremy Gonzalez turns, a little daylight play. Chris Woodward tries to sneak in. I'll tell you, that's something that managers and pitching coaches like to see in spring training. This is where you work out the timing, the kinks, all the bugs on your pickoff plays. Good time to do it here in spring training and to feel comfortable showing the manager you can get it done.
Ripped foul. I would imagine on the other side, I mean, Cruz is going to be aggressive anyway, but you've got to have new signs now for all of these teams.
I'm sure they do, although my guess is that for a lot of these clubs in the World Baseball Classic, it's going to be very simple. One clap, you steal, 2 claps, you bunt, or just swing, and we'll just figure it out as we go. I don't think they're going to make it too complicated. They're going to let the talent show through.
Jose Oquendo, the manager. A lot of things to think about, though, as you get into tournament play, which again will begin Tuesday for Puerto Rico. Did he go?
He thinks he did.
He went. So Valentin down on strikes.
Well, a high fastball right here, runs it by him, just can't quite hold it up, and that is something that Valentin is prone to do. I mean, he can juice one out of the ballpark, but he does have some holes in that swing and chases some balls out of the zone and can strike out as well.
2 outs. Jose Cruz Jr. on second with the double. Alexis Rios of the Blue Jays steps in. Smash to left field. Base hit. That's going to drive in a run. And the first run ever for Team Puerto Rico. Double for Rios. 1-0 here in the second.
Good piece of hitting by the tall, lanky Toronto Blue Jay outfielder. This kid's a bundle of talent. Gets a fastball inside, just turns on it, rips it down the line, and he is some sort of specimen. And you look at some of the young players, you see the first run there. Jose Cruz Jr. scores, slaps a high five. Good piece of hitting, RBI.
The Ole chant is out as Alex Cintron steps in. Diamondbacks shortstop. We're getting a small taste of what we're in store for in San Juan. It's going to be rocking down there. Little bouncer. Harper to Jeremy Gonzalez. And the Mets are out of it. 1 run scored, though. Puerto Rico has the 1-0 lead. Mets down a run here in the bottom of the second. It'll be Cliff Floyd stepping in, but first Duke Castiglione is with Pedro Martinez. Duke?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much, Brian. The most talked about toe in baseball, all of sports really. Pedro, you threw in the bullpen yesterday. How does the toe feel?
The toe was fine. It was a little sore, but that's expected because I've been throwing every other day since I got here. Since I got to the mound, we have been working really hard and trying to get used to the shoes and getting used to the mound, and at the same time trying to get back on track to try to face some hitters and do what we have to do to actually get ready for opening day.
Do you think you can be on the mound against the Nationals at Shea on opening day? Will you be the starting pitcher?
I'm going to try to. If nothing goes wrong, I'm expecting to be there for opening day.
Pedro, you are very proud of your heritage. You're one of the most popular, if not the most popular person in the Dominican Republic. How hard was this decision for you personally to pull out of the WBC?
It was really difficult and confusing. I didn't know that the rules were that you have to be in the 30-man roster by the starting of the competition. And that confused me a little bit because I was expecting to be there probably for the second round or whatever, whenever I could get there. If I was just in the roster, I was expecting to be added if I had to be added in a certain situation. But knowing that I had to be there on the first day of the roster and not being able to pitch to hitters here, as far as I was back behind the schedule, I couldn't make it because I haven't faced a hitter. I haven't thrown a breaking ball yet. I haven't thrown live PP, and those are things that we require before we go to face professional and probably the best hitters in the world. And for me, it was a little disappointing not be able to participate and help my country. Something that I've been looking forward to since I was 12 years old. And I'm very, very sad to not be able to do that. But at the same time, I didn't want to hurt, the chances that they have to have somebody that will give them the true help that they need and actually help, probably hurt their chances.
We know the reaction here. Mets fans take a conservative approach. They want you to be ready for opening day. What was the reaction from friends and family back home?
They're happy that I made that choice because they know I'm not okay. And they know how hard it is for me to actually try to satisfy everybody and back home and how proud the people are. But at the same time, they are very concerned about my health and the rest of my career. And they know that I'm also here on a big stage in New York, and I have a big commitment with the Mets. And I know that the fans probably understand back home because they know that if I'm healthy, I'm the first one out there to represent them.
When you look at the teams that are in this, a lot of people talking about Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Team USA, Puerto Rico here today. How do you handicap this? Who do you think will be the winner of this?
At this time, you just sit back, you watch, and you look for the players that probably play the most during the winter and the ones that are in better shape at this time. Because pitching, I know, is not going to be at the top of their shape or their capabilities. So right now, I'll have to say whoever has the best and healthiest and most prepared pitching staff is probably going to hold off the other teams. All of the teams are capable of doing anything, any city, except for the small places where they don't play as much baseball, like South Africa and places like that. You have to count them in. The United States, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Mexico, they're all teams. Japan is going to be really interesting. And
now, why do you say Japan will be interesting?
Because they play the game fundamentally very solid, and I know that they could be a big surprise because nobody's expecting them to be as good as they are, and so is Cuba. Cuba should be really, really well prepared, and so it's hard for you to say which one of the teams is going to win it.
Now, how about this Mets team? Atlanta Braves have won this division for so many years now. You won the World Series with the Red Sox. You know what it takes to win. What do you think about this year's Mets team?
If this team stays healthy and we respond like we're supposed to respond, and that starts right off the bat from me. If I'm healthy with the pitching stuff we have and the relievers that we added to our rotation and the team, I think we're going to be a hard team to beat. We have the offense, we have the defense, now we have the experience. We have David Wright with a little bit more experience, Jose Reyes with a little bit more experience, and we have a fast and at the same time a powerful team that could slug you out. Winning the division is not really all that important. Whoever gets to the finals fresh and good health and ready to play in the finals is the one that's going to win it. Winning the division doesn't mean anything.
Pedro Martinez, you got married this year. Congratulations on that. How has that changed you, if at all?
That doesn't change me at all, but I prefer not to talk about my private life, and I'm going to say I'm happy. I'm going to say I'm okay, and hasn't changed me yet, but there are adjustments that you have to make, but I'm not going to really get into details of that.
Pedro, congratulations. We appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Fellas, back to you.
A lot of news there. Thank you, Duke, with Pedro Martinez. An inning per inning, possibly the greatest pitcher of all time. 1-0, third inning as Mike Pelfrey comes out for the New York Mets. 6'7", 230, 22 years old, facing Alex Cora. A lot to digest in that interview, Steve. We'll go through that. I think the first thing is, I don't know if there's a good time of year to do this, and certainly, Pedro had to deal with it. A lot of players, it is difficult, I think, for anybody to try to get into game intensity fully accelerated at this time of year. David Wright. And one out for the Mets. Now with Pedro, let's take a look at just why that toe is always hurting him. This is an interesting piece of video, Steve.
Well, you know, you're dealing with power pitchers, and what people need to understand is the arm is the last thing that happens when a pitcher throws the ball. The bottom half is what generates the whip for the arm to come through. And you look at Pedro Martinez and the torque on his feet and the way that foot hits. And I'll tell you what I after seeing that tape and listening to him, I think his toe injury is a lot like Barry Bonds' knees. I mean, they're rehabbing. They're hoping to get him healthy, but seeing the way he pitches, the way that toe hits the ground every time, it's not going to get better. They just have to hope that it doesn't get worse, because he's going to continuously pound that toe into the ground if he pitches the way he's capable. And the risk you face, you look at this, wow, watch, pushes off right there, and then boom.
See, that's a real pounding. That's not a normal delivery, Steve.
The cartilage in that toe is gone, and when that goes, it's bone on bone, and every time you impact it, it is very, very painful. And for a guy who has a chronic shoulder problem, as Pedro Martinez does, he has to be very careful that he doesn't favor his foot, change his delivery, and ultimately hurt his arm. So it's going to be very dicey for the Mets all year. They're going to have to massage him through the season and make sure they keep him healthy.
Hooking foul and into the stands on Bernie Williams. 2-2. Williams bounced out to second base his first time up. There's Mike Pelfrey. We'll talk more Pedro, but Pelfrey has some gas, up around 96 miles an hour. AAA last year, 62 innings pitched. Decent whip, 61 hits and 28 walks, 74 strikeouts in those 62 innings, so he can bring the heat.
Well, big kid with a great arm, and really didn't pitch since the college season. They went negotiated all the way into the winter. Finally got a deal done, got him into Major League camp, signed a Major League contract. They're looking for this kid to move quickly.
Ripped, base hit, Bernie Williams could be 2. Bernie Williams goes in with a double on Big Mike Pelfrey.
Well, we saw Pelfrey try to come inside, and that's one of the differences and adjustments that young pitchers have to make coming out of college baseball. Throws a fastball inside. Bernie Williams turns on the ball, rips it down the line right there. Good piece of hitting, and you have to teach young pitchers how to pitch inside in professional baseball. In college ball, aluminum bats, they tend to shy away from doing that. He got too much of the plate. Bernie Williams pulls it down the line.
And here's Pudge Rodriguez with 1 out. And Bernie Williams on second. You have to put yourself inside of Mike Pelfrey for a second and try to think about what he's thinking right now. Here's a guy in his first outing this year. That ball shot to the right side, but foul. First time throwing the ball here in camp, he hits Victor Diaz, which is a no-no. So he's nervous. I think he gave up back-to-back shots right after that. And now he steps in, gets his first out on Alex Cora, but there's Bernie Williams. Well, that's Bernie Williams.
What's not fair is your first professional legitimate inning in an all-star game. You're facing the all-star team from Puerto Rico. That's not fair.
A little smoke there at 93 miles an hour.
Hello, that right there is a good major league fastball. I'll tell you what, that fastball, if he can command that kind of velocity on a fastball down and away, and then command a breaking pitch off that and get a hitter to chase it out of the zone, he can have a successful major league career.
See, that's fair. If you can throw like that, you've now equaled things out, and he struck him out. Painting the black, and Pudge is down 2 out.
You talked to Willie Randolph before the game about Mike Pelfrey, and they love this stuff. You love the delivery. Good leverage with that delivery. Pudge says, no, hello, I'm not ready for that just yet, and let me go back and think about it. But Willie Randolph said he watched Pelfrey throw in the bullpen, and he said he's electric. He lights you up, but he also knows that it's different with hitters in there. When the emotions enter into the game, they want to see how he handles himself.
Carlos Beltran steps in, 2 outs, Bernie Williams on second. Yeah, it's funny, Willie Randolph before the game, as we were sitting there with Rick Peterson, his pitching coach, said a lot of guys, while you're just throwing on the side, you say, wow, wow, you turn around, wow, and then you get in the game, and it's a different thing. But this kid's a first-round pick. He's the real thing. Number 9 overall pick in 2005. I mean, you have a blue chipper. You do expect to be wowed, and you expect that to eventually translate on the field.
Well, it's been a while since Mets have had this kind of an arm, and it's paid off. Aaron Heilman is developing into that kind of guy, and they're hoping Pelfrey can do the same.
Missed 3-0. Bernie Williams, by the way, starts this season without a starting role as his production has slipped. I thought, Steve, there might be a bounce back because, Bernie's still in his mid-30s. And in this day and age, guys can be productive into their late 30s, but it hasn't happened for Bernie, so Johnny Damon will be in center, but there still could be a lot of at-bats for Bernie Williams. Walked him on 4. 2 on, 2 out.
Well, Mike Pelfrey has seen Carlos Beltran swing that bat on TV, and he's seen him here in camp and decided to stay away from him a little bit. But big guy out of the stretch position right here. Big leg kick, but a big body. But he stays behind that front leg, rotates over. Pretty good, smooth, easy delivery right there. There's a lot to work with for Rick Peterson, the Mets pitching coach.
This will be a nice little test here. Man with a blazing fastball, just a kid, against Javi Lopez. Got that nice outside part of the plate. You talk about command. That's a good use of the word, Steve, because it seems like he's got that zoned in.
What you like out of Pelfrey is he's free and easy with his delivery. Not a maximum effort guy to where you think he could pitch a lot of innings over a long period of time.
Tried it again outside. Now up at 94 as he loosens up a little bit.
They're going to probably start Pelfrey at high Class A level here, playing in Port St. Lucie. And you'd say, well, boy, he looks like he might. You want him to build. You want him to get his feet under him, get comfortable, and pitch in warm weather to start the season. Then they'll probably move him up to AA or AAA later in the year.
Just missed. If you're just joining us, this is the Puerto Rico team that will get ready for Pool C play in San Juan, Puerto Rico, Tuesday evening. It'll be Puerto Rico versus Panama to start things off, with Panama, the Netherlands, and Cuba. First time in uniform against the New York Mets here this afternoon.
I think it'll be a slight advantage for Team Puerto Rico playing at home there, and I think that with their hometown fans behind them, and although the fan base has fallen off a little bit in winter ball, they're going to get a lot of support. Jose Oquendo, the third base coach, I don't know if he's now the bench coach for the Cardinals, but with next to Tony La Russa, he's moved back onto the bench, getting some experience, and a lot of thought that he might be the first Puerto Rican Major League manager someday. And good baseball guy, started his career actually with the New York Mets organization.
Chopped to first and handled eventually by Brett Harper. 2 on, they stay right there. Still a 1-0 ball game.
ESPN Spring Training Baseball, brought to you by Verizon Wireless. Get the exclusive new Trio 700W with Windows Mobile.
Tradition Field, and the fans are out. Met fans, Puerto Rico fans. 1-0 Puerto Rico in the bottom of the third. It'll be Ramon Castro, Brett Harper, Chris Woodard for the New York Mets, facing a new pitcher, Jose Santiago. And this should be 1 down. Carlos Beltran grabs that. Santiago, 31 years old. Was with the Mets last year for a bunch of games. Played in Norfolk for most of the season. Had an ERA of 4.26 and over 122 innings of pitching with that AAA team.
Well, a veteran right-hander, he's bounced around a little bit and still without a job right now, not signed with any organization, and a lot of scouts will be watching this World Baseball Classic, and he's hoping to hook on with somebody, even if it's just to get to AAA, to put himself in a position to get back to the big leagues.
Well, here's Brett Harper, first baseman, gets a chance with the big club. Again, Brett, the son of Brian Harper, former major leaguer with the Minnesota Twins. High chopper. Could be trouble first base. Lopez, nice play, and they get the out. Hey, coming up here tomorrow, Steve and I not going anywhere before we go to San Juan. Get a chance to see two teams, two elite teams. Cleveland Indians, Travis Hafner taking on David Wright and these New York Mets. Major League Baseball Monday, 1 Eastern time on ESPN. And then from there, again, we'll be off to San Juan, Puerto Rico. And we will see this team Puerto Rico in front of sold out Hiram Bithorn Stadium. All games sold out, and that's the wild card, Steve. I think you have Cuba playing. Everybody else you get to see in the major leagues. You do not get to see Cuba. We'll talk about that, but the third out is made. Valentin makes it 3 up, 3 down. 1-0 Puerto Rico. Top of the fourth, 1-0 Puerto Rico. Steve, you and I, Tiki Hut, right after the game.
You got it.
It'll be Jose Cruz Jr., Jose Valentin of the Mets, and Alexis Rios of the Blue Jays, but all with Team Puerto Rico taking on Mike Pelfrey as it's fouled back. Willie Randolph, manager of the New York Mets, joins us right now. Willie, thanks for being with us.
How you doing, guys?
Willie, what is it like for you? You've got 12 players in the World Baseball Classic, 10 major leaguers. What's that like?
Feels like I have half a squad here, I guess.
Well, you also play in the Dodgers today. You have, I don't know, a third of a squad here, right?
Yes, we have a split squad today. We got half the guys up there. But, you know, we have some kids whatever from the minor league camp, which is right close to here, so we're able to get some reserves.
Now, Willie, we're taking a look at Mike Pelfrey on the mound today, first-round pick from last year. And what's your sense of him so far in camp?
Well, he's thrown really nice and easy. I love his ground ball to second base. I'll do a little commentary here.
That's good, Willie.
Nice job, Willie.
But, no, he's looked great so far. Our #1 pick, of course, and it's exciting to watch this kid throw. He's real free and easy. He's a big, strong kid, and the ball just explodes out of his hand.
What do you think goes through his mind? We were talking about this, Willie, where he turns around, got an out, but then there's Bernie Williams.
Yeah.
Does that figure into your equation too, like who he's looking at?
No, he's pretty composed. I mean, he's a tough kid. He loves to compete from what I've seen so far. I watched him his first time out. He got the ball and was ready to go after people. So I don't think he's intimidated at all.
Now, Willie, your second base situation is something that you're still sorting through right now. Where does that stand?
Well, it's open competition. Kaz has been playing a lot, of course, but we have Keppinger, who's back in the mix right now, along with Woody's going to play some second base, and the young kid, Anderson Hernandez. So we have some competition there, but I really feel like Kaz is going to step up and take the job.
This is Jose Valentin, again now part of Willie Randolph's bench with one out.
Yes.
Willie, I think a lot of fans up in New York are wondering, what do you do with the lineup? You have a lot of power, but what do you do? Mainly 1 and 2 spot. What do you do?
Well, we're going to use our speed. I mean, we're going to be an aggressive ball club. The thing I like about our lineup is that we have a lot of options and a lot of flexibility. A lot of our guys are interchangeable in a lot of ways. They can hit in different spots. So, right now we're going to just let things sort out a little bit, see what guys fit in. But I feel real comfortable that we have enough flexibility where we can do some different things.
Now, last year, there was a lot of excitement with Pedro Martinez and Carlos Beltran. But now this year, with Carlos Delgado and LaDuca and Billy Wagner, a lot of expectations for this team. How is it different for you this season?
Well, the expectations are great. That means you have a chance to win. So, this year I'm a lot more comfortable with my personnel. The guys have a better understanding of what I want from them and how I want to play. So I feel really much more comfortable this year. But, we have to go out and get it done. And right now we're trying to find that groove so we can go into the season on a high note.
Pelfrey popping the mitt, 0-1 to Alexis Rios. And David Wright, deep. Willie, good defense on your side. And that'll do it. Thank you, Willie.
All right, thanks, guys.
Willie's guys got it done, and they get the manager off the spot, off the hot seat. Still 1-0 as we go to the bottom of the fourth. Festive atmosphere here in Port St. Lucie at the Mets camp. Puerto Rico with the 1-0 lead as J.C. Romero deals to Lastings Millage, and we will do our very best to keep track of all of this. There will be a different pitcher every inning for Puerto Rico, one to get work. We talked to Jose Oquendo about that before the game, but also this is going to be tournament baseball, tournament mentality, Steve.
Well, that's right. I mean, listen, the first round, the format for this first and second round is round robin. You play each of the other 3 teams, one game, the top 2 teams advance. So every game is critical, and that's why they're going to try to run their best pitchers in there. Romero,
Decent year last year in 57 innings, had a 3.47 ERA, part of that incredible Twins bullpen. Dealt away now with the Angels, whatever they go by these days.
Yeah.
I've lost track. I haven't had the court blotter out recently.
Well, it's an interesting move because the trade to the Angels left the Twins really without a viable left-hander.
Scorched and fair ball. Millage rounds first and will go in standing up comfortably as he claps, gets himself a major league double.
Well, Millage had a great year last year. That ball down and inside, and good hitters' eyes get bigger when they see those pitches out over the plate coming into them. And with a left-handed pitcher, he laid it into his sweet zone, and he pulls it down the line. And great year last year, great Arizona Fall League, part of the U.S. team that competed internationally in the Netherlands. And Lastings Millage is playing a lot of baseball, and he just needs to keep playing and gaining experience, and he's going to be a good-looking player.
And here's the surprise in that Kaz Matsui steps in, and this is a guy who was not invited to the World Baseball Classic by Japan. That's how far his reputation has fallen over the last 2 years.
Well, it has been a struggle for him in New York. He left Japan and was one of the best shortstops in the game over there, defensively and offensively. A lot of people, the reports compared him to a Robbie Alomar type player who played shortstop. He came over and immediately struggled. In fact, in 2004, remember, he was a shortstop. They moved Jose Reyes to second base. They've now flip-flopped the two, but Matsui has just struggled, and the Boo Birds have been prevalent at Shea Stadium.
Well, look, he just hasn't produced, and last year, real struggle. Knocked down at second base by Cora. Nicely done. Good defense by Puerto Rico, but he moves the runner over, so not a bad piece of hitting. Going to the right side.
Well, that's a good piece of hitting right there. Willie Randolph will slap him 5 coming in the dugout because it's exactly what he wanted him to do.
Once again, Port St. Lucie, Florida. Tradition Field, home of the New York Mets. Brian Kenny, Steve Phillips, Duke Castiglione has already had a lengthy conversation, an interesting one with Pedro Martinez. It's 1-0 Puerto Rico against the Mets. This is just exhibition baseball as David Wright steps in, and it will happen for real, as Steve mentioned, on Tuesday. Cuba, the Netherlands, and Panama going against Puerto Rico. Base hit. David Wright smacks in a run. It's tied up.
Well, those hitters who are RBI guys, those guys in the middle of the lineup that drive in runs, figure out how to get it done. In that situation with Romero pitching, David Wright doesn't try to do too much. He says, look, I've got the whole man on third base. I'm just going to poke it through over there, get that run in. Even if it was an out, they would have gotten a run. The Mets manufacture a run.
So David Wright is on the cover of ESPN, the magazine. He is the future. King Felix is on the West Coast edition.
Well, I'll tell you, David Wright's got that special twinkle in his eye that stars have. I mean, this kid's the whole package.
That's the fantasy preview, by the way. He got 40 pages of fantasy baseball as Cliff Floyd rips that foul.
Well, Cliff Floyd did tell Duke Castiglione that, you know what, they're on the other side of the field. They're not my teammates today. I'm going after them. But I don't think he meant he's going to drill a line drive in their dugout.
Also points out what Kaz Matsui did, Steve. Just a small piece of hitting, ground ball, other way. So on a base hit, or even, as you said, even if that's an out, that drives in a run. If Matsui is looking to solidify his spot in this order, that's going to help.
Matsui needs to do those little things to try to win Mets fans back over, because what's tough is when his name gets announced, they boo, and that's not what you want on opening day when there's so much expectation.
As you know, Steve, New York fans can be fair, though, as well. If you produce, as you see Bernie Williams in this game, Bernie Williams has gone years where Bernie can still do no wrong. Of course, after a couple of championships and about 6 pennants, you can get to that level.
But you're right. New York is a town of redemption. When players turn their careers around, the fans will accept them, but you have to take advantage of the opportunities.
Broke that bat. Romero goes to second for one. Nicely turned double play by the New York Mets. So a run comes in. Romero, though, escapes by and large. It's a 1-1 ball game after 4. Watch your team's out-of-market games live anywhere you are. Major League Baseball on your desktop. Go to ESPN.com and look for MLB.TV. Sign up for Major League Baseball. Billy Wagner is on, and he gets raked right away, but foul.
Well, one of the Mets' big offseason acquisitions, Billy Wagner pitched for the Phillies last year, and those are some numbers right there. The Mets, you talk about having a major void on your team at the end of the game. Well, they now are going to close games with an exclamation point.
Alex Cintron, good wood on that again. Smacks another one on Billy Wagner, and he's on to lead off the 5th inning.
One of the big problems for the Mets last year was the closer's role on opening day. Pedro pitches a great game, and they lost it in the 9th. Braden Looper gives up a home run and cost them that game. And on the year, Looper had some struggles.
Hey, look, Billy Wagner is one of the best relievers of this or any generation. He's 34 now, but last year, 1.51 ERA, a sub-1 whip. He is still among the elite. Cora lays one down, and Wagner has problems fielding. Everybody's safe. Team Puerto Rico playing a little small ball in the 1-1 game early on. Cora looking to get a base hit, put the pressure on Billy Wagner.
Well, Wagner makes the pitch, and he sees him square around and charges, actually moving to third base first. That ball's hit too hard and rolling too fast to handle with your bare hand. He's got to get his glove down there and just get it out. And Wagner trying to barehand that ball, couldn't make a play.
And now the flags come out as Bernie Williams is here at the top of the order. Designated hitter. Smashed a double in the third inning. He's 1 for 2, and he moves over to the right side to face the flame-throwing Billy Wagner. These are the matchups we like. World Baseball Classic style. And Wagner warms it up to 94 miles an hour. Billy Wagner opting not to play for the U.S. team. Wants to stay in camp with his new club. But here we get a little treat.
Well, Billy Wagner talked about how he struggles early in the year typically, and just wanted to make sure he was ready coming to New York with the Mets. But I tell you, the chanting in the crowd, I mean, this is really just the appetizer. It is going to be crazy down in Puerto Rico as the fans get very excited. The Mets putting on a play right there. First and second, nobody out. You put on a bunt defense. They try a lot of different things during spring training that they might not typically do during the season. Certainly what you want to do is try to hold the runner close to second base so possibly you can get the out at third if he lays a bunt down.
Smoked him. Is that a Let's Go Bernie chant here at Mets camp at Tradition Field?
These are baseball fans here. It's not just Mets fans today. And Billy Wagner, look at that high fastball. That's tough for anybody to catch up with. And you know, Bernie, a little bit on the back end of his career, those kinds of fastballs, he's going to have to take them because he's not going to catch up to it.
Very few people are going to catch up to that in that spot. 1-1 to Bernie Williams.
Well, we talked about the struggles last year for Braden Looper, and he did have 28 saves, but he blew 8 saves. And Billy Wagner only 3 blown saves on the year. Looper also took 7 losses on the year. The opponent's batting average. What this is just a confidence level for your team. And I'll tell you, talking to Bobby Cox the other day, he said, man, it's a major upgrade for the Mets with Billy Wagner at the end of the game.
Just low, 2-2. Cintrone on second. Alex Cora on first. Nobody out here in the 5th inning, a 1-1 ball game. Wagner gets him. Good battle between Bernie Williams and Billy Wagner. Wagner forced to get a little more intense here with the chanting and facing Bernie Williams. Got hot fast.
Well, Bernie knew if he's going to hit that fastball, he's going to have to grit his teeth. So he tried to grit his teeth, but still couldn't quite catch up to it. And for all those people who are against the World Baseball Classic, we're going to have at bats that are matchups against with the elite talent in baseball in games that mean something, where players are playing with passion. We heard Pedro Martinez earlier. He was very sincere, and you could tell in what he was saying how much he was going to miss being able to play and how important it is to represent his native, the Dominican Republic.
Here's Pudge Rodriguez, 2 on, 1 out. Bouncer, slow enough that no double play in line, but that's 2 outs. Both runners move up second and third with 2 outs. And World Baseball Classic will start things off Tuesday afternoon. And there's a matchup for you, the Dominican Republic versus Venezuela. Bobby Abreu, Johan Santana against Albert Pujols and David Ortiz. Then on ESPN2 at 4 Eastern Time, Mexico versus the United States. Derek Jeter, A-Rod for the U.S. And Pedro mentioned earlier something he had wanted to do since he was 12 years old. I mean, it is on his mind. The stars are out on both sides of the field as Carlos Beltran steps in. Big situation. Takes a ball, as it turns out, with 2 on and 2 out.
Well, I tell you what, teammate versus teammate. Beltran should smile right there because that looked like a pretty good pitch he just took. And Willie Randolph said, you know, it wouldn't be bad to build a little confidence for our hitters, throw a couple fastballs down the middle, see what they can do today.
Beltran smokes that left field, base hit. 1 run will score. Lastings Millage up and throwing and hits the runner. Cora is safe. 2 runs for Puerto Rico as Carlos Beltran goes into second base. Not a bad throw from Millage. 20-year-old kid out there made the throw on line, hit the runner, and it's 3-1.
Well, for Willie Randolph, he's evaluating everything, and you're right. I mean, good piece of hitting by Carlos Beltran right there. Billy Wagner leaves it a little bit too far out over the plate. You see Castro setting up inside. Wagner didn't quite get it in far enough. Beltran able to get the bat head to it. And here comes Lasting Milledge charging hard. Good transfer on the ball. Good solid throw. Unfortunately, hits the runner. Ball gets away. Error on the left field.
Milledge went, by the way, to left field in this defensive part of the inning. Fernando Martinez, 17 years old. Future player for Willie Randolph, possibly goes into center field.
You know, we watch these spring training games. You see the radar readings with Billy Wagner, 92, 95 miles per hour. It's not velocity so much that players are trying to gain during spring training. It's location. It's throwing to the inner part of the plate when Castro sets up inside for Billy Wagner instead of leaving it out over the plate. Velocity tends to come back rather quickly. That last little fine motor skill, that thing that lets you put the pitch exactly where you want, is the thing that you work so hard during camp.
Pulled the string on Javi Lopez. As we got to look at the center fielder for a moment there, Fernando Martinez. Take a look at Lopez way out on that.
Now, somewhat unfair when you can throw 95 miles per hour to then take something off it and get a hitter so far out in front and make him look bad. That's a great major league hitter right there looking bad.
There's a shadow going right across the front corner of the plate. So it's 0-2 with 2 outs. Imagine 17 years old. Steve, I mean, he's a bonus baby, got over $1 million, Fernando Martinez. But, I mean, 17 years old, that kid is out there. Number 82, the tight end.
Well, you know what? I tell you, look at his frame. He's long, lanky, athletic looking. He looks pretty comfortable. I mean, he's 17. He's blowing bubbles in the outfield in a Major League spring training game. Omar Minaya says, wait till you see him with a bat in his hand. You think he looks confident just standing around. You got to see him with a bat. Again, that's why spring training's so great. You get to see your team, and you get excited about all the stars you brought in. But, you know, for everybody in the organization to see the young players that are going to be part of the future. And Willie Randolph is going to be very successful. He's going to be here for a long time, and these young guys are going to play for him.
There he goes. And ground ball to David Wright. But the damage is done on Billy Wagner. Carlos Beltran with 2 RBIs. Puerto Rico taking the 3-1 lead. Team Puerto Rico versus the New York Mets today. Going back in time, Hiram Bitorn, the first Puerto Rican to play in the major leagues. Roberto Clemente, perhaps the greatest 1971 World Series MVP, the Hall of Famer, 3,000 hits. Orlando Cepeda in the Hall of Fame, 1999. The Alomars, big part of the baseball culture. And Chichi Rodriguez, 22-time winner on the senior PGA Tour. Also with some flair, and now playing under one flag as they have a 3-1 lead on the New York Mets. Exhibition baseball, again, it will begin for real on Tuesday as Jose Oquendo will take his team to San Juan, and he joins us right now. Jose, Brian Kenny, and Steve Phillips here. What do you think from what you've seen so far?
It's been going real well. The guys getting their work done. The guys we thrown out there, they throw strikes, and they're working pretty quick.
Now, Jose, Carlos Delgado, the Mets first baseman, sore elbow and not in the lineup today. What's your sense of his availability for you as you guys close in on the tournament?
Well, he's going to have some time off for a little bit, rest his elbow, left elbow. And then I might have to use him in that first game, probably as a DH, and then we'll go from there.
Jose, I know you're going one pitcher per inning here, right? Is it going to be any different come tournament time?
Well, probably in the first 2 games, we're probably going to go a little longer with our pitchers, Vasquez and Piñero, a little longer. And then in the third games, Dicky Gonzalez set up to go to that game, and maybe the whole bullpen.
Xavier Nady with the base hit here in the bottom of the 5th inning.
Jose, how do you approach this tournament, knowing that it's kind of round robin? You've played, obviously, in the Caribbean Series at times in your own playing career, but how do you approach this any differently than you might if you were managing during a major league game?
Well, it's going to be a little kind of like playoff type. It's short series. Anything can happen. You got to try to take advantage. The rule is we got to score some runs, and the more runs we score, the better. So we might play more aggressive. And in a situation that probably in the state we won't run, probably in that tournament we'd be running.
Julio Franco fouls one back on Kiko Calero. Jose, What do you think it's going to be like in San Juan? Have you guys been talking about that?
Oh, the guys excited. They can't wait to get there. I think the people in Puerto Rico they're going to be proud of the team we're going to put out there, and I think they're going to come out and support. And we hope we're going to have a good turnout.
Again, it's got to be difficult wondering what you're going to face when you face Cuba. What do you think you're going to see? What level are those guys at?
Well, we don't know much about Cuba, but I think we got to prepare for Panama and Nolan just as strong than Cuba will be. We worry about Cuba when we get there. I think Panama is going to give you some also good competitions.
Now, Jose, there's never been a Puerto Rican manager in the major leagues, and this is obviously a great opportunity for you to get to lead some major league players and manage some games. How about your own aspirations? Any thoughts on possibly one day being a major league manager?
Well, I'm learning a lot from Tony, and I think when the time comes, he's going to be right. But I'm definitely looking forward to have a chance to manage in the major league. But I'm still learning and still like to learn. This is a good chance for me to learn, and I think I'm learning from the best manager in baseball, and that's Tony. So I hope I can make him proud.
Julio Franco went too far. He's punched out. Jose Oquendo back with the Mets. We're looking at your 84. I don't know if that's a Donruss baseball card. Back, Jose, by the way, the cheap seats, you know, Randy and Jason Sklar tried to get Jose Oquendo into the Baseball Hall of Fame for playing the 9 positions. And Jose, you're a big feature on ESPN Classic. How'd that work out?
That worked out real nice. That was a good tension from those guys. I know they're from St.Lucie, so they're gonna support me a lot more than anything. But
that might have had something to do with it, yeah.
Yeah, that was for fun. So
it was fun. This is a great honor for you. What does it mean for you, Jose, seriously, to be the manager of this Puerto Rican team?
Oh, it's a great honor. This is a bunch of good group of guys. They're helping me a lot. I mean, they're working hard, and I think we're going to have a good team out there.
Bunch Rodriguez squeezes, and out number 2.
Now, Jose, if Javier Vasquez obviously starting game 1 for you, and Joel Pinero game 2, but what about at the end of the game? What are you going to do to close games out?
Well, we got a young guy from Cleveland who can probably be a setup out there in Cleveland and someday be the closer. I think he's going to close some game for us. And then we also have to look at the situation and the matchup. So, but he's a good athlete. I think got a good arm, and I think he can do a good job for us.
Fernando Cabrera will probably be the closer primarily, huh?
Yes, sir.
Brett Harper steps in with 2 outs and a man on first. Again, the Mets trail 3-1. What do you tell these guys, Jose, as far as availability? Do you just tell everybody to be ready when we call to the bullpen, or what do you tell them?
Well, we're trying to get him early as we can. Right now, I think we should have somebody warming up, but I think this guy coming up might be is a reliever, so he gets quicker.
3 outs then, as Puerto Rico retires the Mets. Jose, again, congratulations, and we'll see you in San Juan. Thank you.
Thank you.
ESPN Spring Training Baseball, brought to you by YellowPages.com. Need something? You need YellowPages.com.
Puerto Rico leading the Mets 3-1 here in the top of the 6th inning. Interesting ball game with Bernie Williams getting the first at bat for the Puerto Rican team. Duke Castiglione is down with Bernie right now. Duke?
Bernie, prior to the game, you told me playing with all these Mets at Mets camp against the Mets, you were going to stick out like a sore thumb. Are you surprised by the chanting of your name a la Yankee Stadium that you got up there?
Yeah, I think it was all the Puerto Ricans in the stands rooting for us. That's very exciting. And I would never thought in a million years that this was happening here in Port St. Lucie.
It surprised a lot of people, but very good to see, well deserved. As far as the boss, George Steinbrenner, goes, he's been very critical of the World Baseball Classic. You played for him. He is your boss. What is your opinion on the World Baseball Classic as somebody representing Puerto Rico?
Well, I think it's for me, it's a great idea. Every time we have an opportunity to represent our country in a competition like this, been playing baseball for 20 years, and it always gives you goosebumps, and it's a great feeling. However, the timing of the event, it really, it leaves a lot of questions, a lot of, risk of injury, a lot of stuff, could happen. And he has a point. You know, he has obviously invested a lot of money in all these players, and if you know, just the possibility of them getting hurt, you know, and possibly maybe ruin the whole offensive lineup for the Yankees, you know, it's something that he's really very concerned about.
We've seen the reaction here by the fans in the crowd. A lot of people waving Puerto Rican flags. What do you think it's going to be like when you get down to Puerto Rico? You guys leave tonight.
It's going to be amazing. I remember back in '95, we played the Caribbean Series. Right off of that strike here, everybody was ready to play. We had only 4 countries, Venezuela, Mexico, Dominican, and us. And Puerto Rico just stopped for a week, you know, to watch us play. We had a very good team. We were able to win the Caribbean Series, but it's going to be probably about, I don't know, 2 or 3 times as many people, and they're going to be out there chanting for us.
Last year, many people thought it was going to be your last year with the Yankees. You decided to come back this year. How much longer are we going to see you play?
I don't know. I think this year is very important for me. Obviously, I'm going to be fulfilling a different role. I think at times probably even more complex than just going out there in center and playing every day. You know, I got to be ready to play, whether I'm in there or not. I got to be there ready to play. I'm going to play a little left, mostly probably right and center, and I'm going to DH and I'm going to come off the bench. You know, so I got to be ready to play every day, whether I'm in there or not. And hopefully I'll be able to get a good start. You know, I think obviously the better I start, the more opportunities I'm going to have to play, and you know, that's going to determine whether I play next year or not.
Bernie, we appreciate your time. Good luck.
Thank you.
Fellas, back to you.
Thanks, Duke. Always great to hear from Bernie Williams. Let me just say this, Steve, because you and I will have to do this on the hot list someday. You put Bernie Williams' prime up against Hall of Famers, outfield Hall of Famers. He does not suffer in the comparison. I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer, but I know his 8-year prime. He's basically a 400 on base, 500 slugging, switch hitting center fielder for a legitimate dynasty, one of the all-time great dynasties in baseball history. You could make a case. I don't know if you win the case, but you could make a case for the Hall of Fame. Steve's very quiet suddenly.
I tell you, I was waiting for him to see if he's going to throw a pitch here that somebody hit it out of the park. But, you know, listen, he's had an extraordinary career. There's no question. And in addition to what he delivered on the field, the class and character and leadership that he delivered for this Yankee team was phenomenal. I mean, it's phenomenal. I think that's a big part of why they signed him back, because you could find better DHs than Bernie Williams.
On the 0-2 to Jose Valentin, skied the sun battling David Wright. Nice play. Bernie Williams is the all-time postseason leader in home runs and RBIs, and it's a given. We realize that there's more postseason now than ever before, but this guy's had so many great moments in the postseason. The foundation of the 90s dynasty, 4 World Series titles, 6 pennants, and he is the foundation. Had he gone to the Red Sox at that point in his career when his contract was up, we wouldn't be talking about all those championships with the Yankees. That's my belief, Steve.
Well, when I just joined the Mets front office in 1990, I remember Frank Cashin, the general manager then. The Yankees were down on Bernie Williams a little bit, and he tried desperately to pry him away because he just loved him and thought, you know, this guy's going to be a player. And the Yankees held on to him, and fortunately for them, they did. And you know that the Posada and Bernie Williams and Derek Jeter and that real nucleus of that team has really been the big part of that dynasty for a long time.
Fouled off by Alexis Rios. 2 outs here. Leading off the inning, it was Jose Cruz Jr. who struck out while we were talking to Bernie Williams. Again, a festive crowd here. Big crowd to see the Puerto Rico team against the New York Mets. Steve Schmall on the hill for the Mets. One of those additions to the bullpen for Willie Randolph, and had to give up quite a bit to get him. Jay Saw is the guy who was given up to the Dodgers. And I'll tell you what, you wonder, Chris Benson, all right, we know there are issues and he gets paid a lot, but Saw, who had a 2.59 ERA last year, 90 innings, Steve, why trade him?
Well, I think that they thought they had enough depth, and they thought they definitely needed to address the bullpen to get another arm to lead up to Billy Wagner, and they thought they had enough depth. But then, when Anna Benson, Chris Benson's wife, made some comments about Carlos Delgado and about the organization and such, they felt pressured to have to make a deal. If the Benson situation had come to a head earlier, they probably would have held on to Jay So and maintained some of that depth. It put him in a tough position, but I understand why they traded Benson.
Outside on Schmall, and Rios draws a walk with 2 outs. 3-1 ball game, 2 outs here in the 6th inning. Steve Schmall pitching for the Mets. We've seen Billy Wagner gave up 2 runs Carlos Beltran, his teammate, smashed in 2 with 2 outs. Tradition Field. This is an exhibition game. Again, Puerto Rico for the first time in full uniform playing a competitive game against the New York Mets. The Mets, by the way, let's just throw this in again if you weren't watching at the top. Mets have a split squad game on top of 12 players in the World Baseball Classic. They are also playing the Dodgers today. Big names are up here. Going to second. And the throw not in time. That is Sandy Martinez behind the plate for the Mets, replacing Ramon Castro, and they test him right away.
Now he gets a good jump. Alexis Rios stands up a little bit off the jump, but accelerates well. And I'm telling you, this Alexis Rios is a guy to watch right now. Right fielder for the Toronto Blue Jays. Some kind of talent. That power is going to come along, and he's going to be, to go along with Vernon Wells in that outfield, is going to be some kind of kid. He's just growing into that body, learning how to play the game. But he's learning how to hit by hitting doubles, driving the ball the other way, and then he's going to learn how to pull the ball. He's going to have power and speed. A big factor for what's going to be, I think, an exciting Toronto Blue Jay team this year.
Yeah, 2-0 here to Alex Cintron. A lot of additions to Toronto. B.J. Ryan in that bullpen. Smashed, base hit. Rios coming around, double clutch in right field, and he's going to score 4-1 Puerto Rico.
Well, Brian, we talked to Jose Oquendo, the manager of the Puerto Rican team, earlier, and he said we're going to be aggressive, try to score. And what we're hearing about a lot of the teams, they're going to try to do what they can to get runners going. Alex Cintron, good piece of hitting. Small gets the fastball up, and Steve Small, sidearm pitcher. Sometimes those guys have difficulty with left-handed bats. They don't have the movement that they need. The ball comes in on the plate. Good line of vision for the hitter, and Cintron pulls the ball through. And Cintron's a guy, he can run a little bit as well, and look for Puerto Rico to try to keep things moving.
Alex Cora steps in, Red Sox infielder. And keep in mind, the Mets now are slowly taking their regulars off the field. Regulars, as it were, even with a split squad and losing players to the World Baseball Classic. Julio Ramirez was out there in right field. He had the double clutch. I don't know if he'd have a play anyway, but it was Sandy Martinez behind the plate, who's also now just getting into the game. So you've got some Mets minor leaguers getting into this game, and this Puerto Rican team is just going to pound you. They're going to run. They're going to try to score runs. They can't worry about playing minor leaguers or major leaguers.
Well, guys like Sandy Martinez behind the plate and Julio Ramirez, this is an opportunity for them. And really one of those opportunities that I think when everybody talks about the negatives of the World Baseball Classic, one of the opportunities is for these players left behind who are fighting for those extra roles on the team, for those bullpen spots, to showcase what they can do. So even if they don't make the team out of spring training, they can at least make an impression so that if somebody gets hurt in season, the staff, the decision makers for the organization feel comfortable to call them up.
Schmal trying to get out of this long inning. And he finally makes it. 4-1 Puerto Rico, as the Puerto Rican team gets one more run. Steve Schmal finally finishes that up. Again, the World Baseball Classic hasn't begun yet in this hemisphere. On Tuesday, play will begin with Cuba, the Netherlands, Panama, and Puerto Rico. Again, Pool A, Tokyo, already well underway, and Korea beating Japan late last night, early this morning, wherever that turns out to be.
Well, interesting turn of events there, but the Korean team can run some major league pitchers out there, and I think that's one of the important things in these tournaments. If you can get some dominating pitching, you can win these games, and that's why I think you're going to see what we've seen today with Team Puerto Rico. You get runners on base, you're going to see teams do everything they can to score. That's what we've heard about the Cuban team. There's not a lot of scouting reports on them, but they play the same way. When they try to score every inning, if somebody gets on base, they don't wait for a big thumper to hit a 3-run home run. Take advantage of the opportunities when you get them.
Yeah.
There is a different strategy in these sorts of round-robin tournaments. Score when you get the chance.
I have a crazy idea. You ready? I think if Major League Baseball wants to really do this, because again, people, Pedro Martinez, Bernie Williams, both saying it's tough at this time of the year. Major League Baseball, remember telling us in Orlando, it's tough at the end of the year. We do these tours of Japan, and guys are broken down then. I think if they really want to do it, they'll have to do it NHL Olympic style. Middle of the season, carve out 10 days. If you want to do it, I think that's what they're going to have to do.
I tell you what, this to me is the best time of year, and I'll tell you why. Doing it in November, it's the time of year when the players are most fatigued. It's the end of the year. You've got guys who are free agents who are wanting to get the big contract. They're not going to participate in the World Baseball Classic. Doing it in the middle of the year, if you have to shorten the season to do it, the owners aren't going to go along with it because they don't want to lose the payday.
Well, that's it. Do you want to do it or not?
Well, then the other thing is, well, you can move the games, but if you move them, you're going to move them into March. It doesn't make sense. This is the time of year to do it.
I disagree. Anyway, Tuesday, 1 o'clock Eastern time, the Dominican Republic versus Venezuela. That is the elite matchup. Mexico versus the United States at 4 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN2. I just think, the other part to look at is, what's happened in basketball, what's happened in hockey, and those are two sports with long traditions, as we see Juan Padilla out for the Puerto Rican team. These are sports with long traditions of international tournaments. Baseball is not that way, and already the thrill is kind of gone in those two sports in international competition. Chris Woodard flies out to right. So I wonder, Steve, looking ahead, will this get bigger or will it just flame out? I wonder, because you look at basketball, you look at hockey, the NHL now is a little less enamored. I know I talked to Barry Melrose last week, who said he feels that the NHL should pull out. Say, okay, that's enough. We tried it. It was fun for a while. It got the fans going, but now it's done. I wonder if the World Baseball Classic can flourish for years to come.
I think it will. I really do. I think it's the right thing to do. I think that, I think fans are going to get excited about this. Quite honestly, I think that the United States living here, we're surrounded by people that are pointing out the negatives, and I don't think we understand. Everywhere else, they're excited about this. They're fired up.
Lastings Millage drills this deep to left field. Long way to go. And a nice catch by Cruz at the wall. Millage gave it a ride. He's still looking out there. He's like, who is that guy? Lastings, he's with the Dodgers. He's very good.
Well, this little guy has some swing. Look at that bottom half rotate through, and that's where the power comes from. He thinks he has. He's going to peek again. Jose Cruz, nice tracking of the ball. Doesn't shy away from the ball. Good piece of play right there. I tell you, what we've seen today from the Puerto Rican team, who haven't really played together very much. These guys are baseball players. We saw Javi Lopez make a nice play with a toss to the pitcher at first base. Nice double plays when they haven't practiced together, but they've played the game, and therefore it's coming through on the field today.
Kaz Matsui steps in for the Mets, down 4-1. 2 outs here in the 6th inning. Matsui grounded out twice, but nice little piece of hitting his last time up, where he went to the right side to advance a runner. This, though, is just an out, and the end of the inning. We played 6. Puerto Rico 4, the Mets 1. The World Baseball Classic underway again for the first time ever. Game's greatest playing pride and the championship. You can follow all the action on worldbaseballclassic.com. And look, Steve, I'm just pointing out, I think there's a better way of doing it, but this is exciting already. Look, to be here at this field, and look, fans are just enjoying themselves. They might be here for the Mets anyway, but they wouldn't get this crowd. They didn't get it yesterday for the Nationals. They get it here today for Puerto Rico.
And they wouldn't get the excitement either. But what I was going to finish saying earlier is I think that what might motivate people here a little bit, because we hear all the negatives, is if U.S. were to lose and the next time feel like we've got to prove something in this World Baseball Classic, I think that might get people into it a little bit more here. Right now, I think we all think, well, it's our game. We're going to be all okay and we'll just win it and nobody will care.
Ricky Leday steps in. Coming in for Bernie Williams. Bernie had a double in this game, but struck out against Billy Wagner, so 1 for 3. Leday now with the Dodgers. Matt Parasho is on the hill, left-hander for the Mets. Fouled back. Joining us here in the booth right now is the general manager for the New York Mets, along with the former manager of the New York Mets, general manager, excuse me, Steve Phillips. Now, Omar Minaya is with us. How are you, Omar?
I'm doing fine.
You know this guy pretty well? You know him?
My ex-boss.
Yeah, I want to talk about all the good training you got to do this job right now.
You're right. Working for Steve, that was a lot of fun. And, I'm really, he really gave me the opportunity to come to New York as the assistant general manager. And that was a great opportunity. So thanks again, Steve.
Oh, you're welcome. You're going to have my job anytime.
Omar, again, you went big game hunting again this offseason. Expectations, what do you expect?
Well, we went out and we signed, I think, what we thought was a pretty good free agent in Billy Wagner. And then we made a couple of trades to be able to fill in the other needs, like a Carlos Delgado and a Paulo Duca. I think our team on paper, of course, looks better. I think our team is better than it was last year. That being said, I think we expect to to go and give the Braves a hell of a run. They've been doing this winning for 14 years in a row, and our guys are, we say, hey, look, let's go out there, let's go out and play some good baseball. Willie's second year at the helm, and for you to win, you got to be able to do fundamental things, and we look forward to having a good year.
Well, we're looking at all the acquisitions since you've come in, Omar. You've been busy, I can see that, and you've spent a little bit of money as well, but I think one of the big questions with the team this year is the depth of the starting pitching and Pedro Martinez's health. Where do you feel you are right now with your starting pitching?
Well, I think our starting pitching is, I think we have good starting pitching. I think like anything else, Pedro Martinez needs to get healthy and hopefully be the Pedro Martinez that he's been pretty much his whole career. Tommy Glavine had a great second half. Victor Zambrano, I think, is going to be a better pitcher than he was last year. He's healthier. Thought last year he wasn't healthy. He pitched winter ball this year. Steve Traxel, I think, is going to be what Steve always does. It gives a pretty quality innings. And then we have a whole bunch of other guys with Aaron Howman, and others like Bannister. We got the kid today, Jeremy Gonzalez, who pitched. I think we got numbers in starting pitching, but the bottom line is we have to stay healthy, and I like our bullpen, of course, much better than it was last year.
Are you done with your rotation? Done as far as getting into the season, or are you still thinking of things?
Well, I'm always thinking of things. Steve will tell you that. When I work with Steve, if he wasn't thinking, I was thinking for him.
Omar,
that's what happened.
I would tell you this. Omar was my ideas guy. Omar would come up with stuff, and I'm like, that's pretty good. Oh, and what he would also do, he'd come up something, I'd say, no, I don't think so. And a couple days later, he'd say, how about this? I go, no, I don't think so. And about a week later, I'd say, how about this? He goes, yeah, I should have thought of that myself.
I tell you what, we had a great time working together, and especially, Steve was one of those general managers that understood the marketplace in New York. You really have to really go after it, and you really have to continue to try the best, and the fan base demands that from you. And when we worked together, we used to kind of always exchange ideas, and I'll go at him and he'll go at me, and we had a good run. We went to the playoff, we got to the World Series, and it was a lot of fun when we worked together.
Now, how about your bullpen now, Omar? You've got Billy Wagner obviously at the end of the game, but to get the ball from your starters to bridge to get to Billy Wagner, where does that stand right now?
I think, and that's what we tried to go out there, and when we did make some trades, and we traded some starting pitching, like when we traded Jay So, we went out and got Dueñas Sanchez. We also were able to get Jorge Julio. We got Bradford in the mix. This shortstop is a 17-year-old kid. I'm sorry, it's a young kid in A-ball. I always call him young.
As Jose Coronado made that out, and that's it. Quick defense, good defense. Omar, good chatting with you briefly. Thank you so much.
Okay, pleasure.
Best of luck. 4-1. Let's go to the bottom of the seventh. 4-1, Puerto Rico leading the Mets in the bottom of the seventh. We'll have Omar Minaya with us tomorrow as we have the Mets and Indians here as well. Boy, we had Willie Randolph. We had good conversation, but his team made 3 nice little plays. 5 pitches later, he's done. Omar out of here in short order as well.
Well, I have to tell you, managers tend to like the inning to go quickly to get off the microphone. They don't like to hang out.
GMs, though, they like to speak. I don't know if you found that.
I don't know anything about that.
David Wright steps in, third baseman for the Mets. Base hit and a strikeout in this game. Fernando Cabrera coming out, and he is the, seen as the closer as Jose Oquendo goes into the World Baseball Classic. Pitching with the Cleveland Indians, had a very nice season with the Indians last year.
Well, Cabrera's a big part of the reason why the Indians were willing to let Bobby Howry go and signed a big contract with the Cubs, and they traded Arthur Rhodes and traded Dave Risky, although they did bring Guillermo Mota back in the deal. But this kid's going to be an important part of the Cleveland Indians bullpen this year. Tremendous arm, loose, lanky body, free and easy, good stuff.
David Wright, last year in his first full season with the Mets, 388 on base, 523 slugging percentage, had 27 home runs, 102 RBIs, and again, Steve, production at third base, that type of production is rare, especially for a 22-year-old guy.
Well, David certainly produced offensively. The numbers were phenomenal for him, and you see his career numbers adding in the part season from the year before. He has to tighten up his defense a little bit. He had some throwing errors, tried to do a little too much, which young players will, but he's going to be solid defensively.
Skies the 3-2, and Ruben Gotay, Kansas City Royals prospect, makes the play. And I know you covered up for me before, and I appreciate that, Steve, because I mentioned third baseman, and I'm just thinking back since dealing Nolan Ryan for Jim Fregosi, the Mets have been looking for a great third baseman. Howard Johnson, you're right, had power and speed, but Robin Ventura and now David Wright. Look, David Wright could be the greatest third baseman in Mets history within 5-6 years.
Oh, I don't think there's any question. I guess every organization has that one position that's been tough to fill, and for the Mets, the numbers are extraordinary. I mean, they just keep running guys in there trying to find the answer. They have found the answer, and his name is David Wright. You know, Brian, for fans have not been to spring training games before. I mean, usually you get golf claps every once in a while when a play happens. This is unbelievable environment for a spring training game, and the chanting, the wave going through the crowd. There aren't waves during spring training games. It's like it's a golf crowd that just sits quietly and doesn't want to disrupt anything, and the energy's fantastic here.
That's Fernando Martinez waving at that, 17 years old. Again, we had Omar Minaya up here in the last half inning, and he mentioned Jose Coronado. You're seeing teenagers out here on the field. The Mets have a split squad game with the Dodgers today. They have 12 players in the World Baseball Classic, so Anderson Hernandez, who might be getting that spot at shortstop, is not here as Martinez just waves at it. Let's go to Duke Castiglione. Duke.
Well, Brian, Carlos Delgado not in the lineup today for the Puerto Rican national team. I had a chance to talk to him before the game. He has tennis elbow. He had a big ice bag on his left elbow, not his throwing elbow. What he told me was when he turns the glove, that's when it really hurts. He also told me if he's not 100%, there's a chance he may not play at all in the WBC. Now, he will travel to Puerto Rico with the team, but like I said, he owes it to the Mets, the fans, and his teammates to be 100% for them before the Puerto Rican national team. Fellas, back to you.
All right, Duke, thank you. Julio Ramirez steps in. Again, Jose Oquendo said he expected to have Delgado in the lineup when they opened up, but only Delgado will know really that day how he feels and if he's ready to go.
Well, it's obviously a difficult one, but you know, I mean, the other thing is it's not only for their fans and for their teammates, but it's also for the Puerto Rican team. If he can't play the way he's capable, then he might as well step down and let somebody who's healthy perform.
Oh, there's some serious gas thrown at these poor Met teenagers. Cabrera gets through it quickly. It's 4-1. Top of the 8th inning here in Port St. Lucie. Yes, it is that warm. 4-1. Although a shirt wouldn't hurt. Puerto Rico has shown.
You took yours off for this half minute.
No, please.
Put your shirt on.
Oh, no. We're not getting any sun here in the booth. Matt Parasho will stay on for the New York Mets. Just to get back to that last half inning, to see Cabrera come on against those teenagers, it's really just not a fair fight. You talk about unfair. There's not much those poor Met farmhands could do.
Well, it's good experience for them. That's what they're logging, and they'll learn to lay off those high fastballs.
Oh, by the way, I say poor. That's a relative term. Martinez had $1 million signing bonus. Play it short. Woodard makes the play.
Well, we're talking about Carlos Delgado and the big acquisition for the New York Mets and with a sore elbow, but there's a reason why the Mets made this big acquisition. They struggled terribly last year offensively, rating last out of production at first base, and you see the numbers there with the average home runs and RBI. Well, you know what? They said, let's go out and find somebody to fill that void. How about Delgado? Look at those numbers right there. 301 batting average, 33 homers, 115 RBI, and this guy's a RBI run-producing machine. They, again, filled that position with an exclamation point. They had a major hole at the end of the game. They got Billy Wagner, and obviously the least production in baseball at first base, and got the best guy on the market in Carlos Delgado.
Look, Delgado is a 400, 600 guy. Remember I was saying Bernie Williams is so good he's a 400, 500 guy. 400 on base, 500 slugging. Delgado is elite. This is Eduardo Perez now batting for Puerto Rico. This guy can rake.
He can hit left-handers for sure. That's why he's hitting in this situation.
Chopper and Keppinger makes the play at third as the Mets get out another prospect. Jeff Keppinger makes the play, and these Mets will be back out here tomorrow afternoon, 1 o'clock Eastern time. Steve and I will be with you. Once again, 1 Eastern, the Cleveland Indians. If you go to third order wins, if you're into your sabermetrics, and Steve, I know you are, begrudgingly, Cleveland Indians were the best team in the American League last year. They're expected to be among the elite again this season.
Well, good-looking young team, no question about it. And they're going to try to take on the Chicago White Sox. The big difference between those two teams was one-run games. The White Sox, phenomenal in one-run games a year ago. The Indians really struggled in that situation. So it's going to be interesting. The White Sox, the Indians are, they lost Kevin Millwood. They lost Scott Ellerton, replaced with Jason Johnson and Paul Bird. They lost some arms in the bullpen. The question is the pitching going to be good enough?
Ruben Gotay takes a strike. Gotay, switch hitting prospect for the Kansas City Royals, well regarded, 23 years old. And he's going to get some time with Puerto Rico as Jose Vidro, who actually was playing with the Nationals here yesterday, but was not 100%, so he will not play with the Puerto Rican team. But he was expected to be one of the big guns for Puerto Rico.
Well, he figured he better stay in Washington Nationals camp because Alfonso Soriano wants his job. And that whole situation in Washington with Soriano saying he's only going to play second base and not going to move to the outfield is really going to be something to watch, I think, as we get into the rest of spring training.
I guess the bat went flying. A big guy had it, gave it to the kid, and he gets an ovation.
The one time you'll hear crowds in spring training start to voice up a little bit is when the chant "Give it to the kid" comes up, and the nice fan did just that.
One and two to Gotay. Took something off that, and it's straight up in the air. Sandy Martinez records it. Parasho out of the inning rather easily. 4-1, Puerto Rico leading New York. A sun-drenched afternoon here in west coast of Florida, in Port St. Lucie. Puerto Rico leading the Mets 4-1. Orlando Roman, who is in the Mets organization but is now pitching for Puerto Rico against the Mets. And we're getting a lot of these situations. We'll try to stay on top of it. If the situation warrants, we'll set it up defensively for you. Julio Franco, this man we know, and that falls fair ball. 47-year-old man goes in with a sliding double. He is 47, excuse me.
Doesn't quite run like he used to, but I'll tell you what, that guy is a machine. His 29th year of professional baseball, 47 years old. And you know what? The Mets said, age is overrated. Here's a 2-year contract because you can do that. He is one of the best at hitting the ball the other way. He just has that ability to let the ball get deep in the zone. That means closer to the catcher before he starts his swing, being able to drive the ball down to that right field corner. He's one of the best, a real professional. I'll tell you, a real leader. Omar Minaya said one of the reasons we signed him was what he could do on the field, but also what he does to help young kids. He was a key guy to the Braves with Rafael Furcal. They think he's going to be great with Jose Reyes and Victor Diaz here.
Sandy Martinez steps in. That's Jamar Hill pinch running for Julio Franco. His numbers even last year, Franco's, Steve, 348 on base, 451 slugging. That's in 233 at bats, so it's selected bats, but those are good numbers for a guy 47. I mean, it's just incredible.
We talked to Bobby Cox on Friday, and he said Franco's a major loss for their team. Not only he was backing up LaRoche at first base as the right-handed complement. Now they have Adam LaRoche by himself. He's going to have to face left-handers. He's been platoon. But what Julio Franco does coming off the bench, playing defense, all the things he offers a team, Omar said it's worth 2 years.
In incredible physical condition as well. His workout routine buries younger men.
His diet.
Right. He's very serious about what we were telling me. He doesn't see it as food. It's fuel.
It's fuel. He doesn't care about what it tastes like. He cares about what it gives his body. Egg whites and egg whites. And then he has some egg whites after that. I mean, he says, protein, give me as much of it as I can. I mean, he'll eat 10 to 15 egg whites in the morning. So this morning in the clubhouse in there, he's walking with some raisins and egg whites on his plate, and he considers it fuel. And I tell you, it's paid off for him because he still is in the best shape of anybody in uniform at this ballpark.
And he's not 41. He's 47. It's a big difference, as you know, Steve. 2-2. I don't mean to take a shot at you. They don't have those egg whites at the tiki bar.
Well, I tell you, the other thing about Julio Franco is he loves to play the game. I mean, he's a longtime Major League player. Then most people thought he was done. So what did he do? He went to Japan to play. And then when they thought he was done in Japan, he went to Mexico to play. He played in Korea. He just kept playing. And out of the Mexican League, the Atlanta Braves said, we need somebody to help us at first base. They signed him. And 5 years later, he was still in the Braves organization.
Oh, that's a tremendous pitch from Roman. And Martinez strikes out. Roman, 136 strikeouts in 120 innings last year in Double-A Binghamton for the Mets. So the guy can strike you out.
Well, he's always had a pretty good arm. It's been consistency for him. A little breaking ball up in the zone there. Oh, that's what those breaking balls look like.
Brett Harper getting a long look here. And Harper with good numbers in the minor leagues. He's 24 years old. I mentioned earlier in the game, son of Brian Harper, former major leaguer. Had a .352 on base, slugged .533 in Double-A. Those are nice numbers. That's a lot of power. Only 227 at bats, but that's good power. He's 24 already, but there's still upside for Brett Harper.
You know, we're seeing some of these young kids here, and so that fans understand. You know, you see major league players and these young 19, 20-year-olds. There's one thing that's different between the two, and that's the ability to play the game consistently. They're just as fast when they're young as they've been playing 10 years in the major leagues. They're just as strong. They can throw it just as fast. The difference is the ability to play the game consistently, to adapt and adjust and to be able to perform. It's not about, well, the young kids don't throw it as hard or they're not running as fast. It's just about being able to play the game. And that's why kids don't sign out of high school and go to the major leagues. They don't sign out of college and typically go to the major leagues. Baseball develops its own players because you have to learn how to cope with the game. Playing every day, the ups and downs, the struggles. It's a game where you fail 7 out of 10 times and you're still good. You have to learn how to cope with that. It takes some time to figure out how to do it. And that's why young guys just don't go to the major leagues in professional baseball.
Sandy Martinez has a seat, and we've seen Sandy Martinez, Fernando Martinez, Lastings, Millage. Again, we hope to see Anderson Hernandez, who's a real prospect at second base and shortstop tomorrow against the Indians, Steve. He looked great yesterday. He was 3 for his first 3, scored 3 times. That ball is ripped to left field and scooped up. That's on the fly and a double play. So Jamar Hill pitch running, thought it was scooped up, but no. DP, Puerto Rico still up 4-1. In the top of the 9th, Puerto Rico fans are thrilled. 6,127 here at Tradition Field. Capacity is 7,000, so it's pretty filled up. You got the picnic area out there as Heath Bell will come on for the Mets. Again, still a lot of spots to be won in the bullpen and that 5th starter spot, so Heath Bell got some time in with the big club last year. 46 innings with the Mets. His ERA very high, 5.59, but had good innings in AAA, Steve, and actually had a very good Dominican Winter League as well. Had an ERA of 2.77.
Yeah, Heath's a guy that we had drafted back even when I was there in the organization. He's one of those rare guys whose fastball went from about 87 to 94 over the course of an offseason, just through getting himself in shape and working out. Doesn't happen that often. Got himself into shape and has worked very hard to get himself a cup of coffee in the major leagues, and actually a little bit more than that. And he's a guy vying for a spot, or at least a first call up in case somebody gets hurt.
First look at this team with the name Puerto Rico on the front. Alex Rios has played the entire game. He steps in to face Heath Bell. Puerto Rico again with a lot of power in the middle of the lineup. We haven't seen Carlos Delgado today. Hopefully for their sake, we will get to see Delgado in San Juan. Duke Castiglione had talked to him earlier in the day, if you're just joining us, and he mentioned that Carlos is still a little unsure if he'll be ready to go with a little tendonitis. Now, Jose Oquendo told us before the game he hopes to have the big man, the big left-hander, in there for Game 1 when they open up Tuesday night.
Well, Jose Oquendo getting a first crack at doing a little bit of managing. I think he'd rather have Delgado in the lineup. If you're going to get managed, you don't want him to take away your number 4 hitter, the big thumper out of your lineup. But he'd adapt and adjust, and Javi Lopez would go play some first base or DH, and Bernie Williams, they'll move guys around.
There's a strike at 91 miles an hour from Bell. Look, they've got Beltran, Javi Lopez, Jose Cruz Jr., who's legitimate power hitter now, and Carlos Delgado. That's a lot of power without anything from Bernie Williams or Pudge Rodriguez, guys who have declined last year at the very least. But in a tournament, Pudge Rodriguez, Bernie Williams, I think you take those guys. Coronado. Let's go back to the previous inning where we had a pinch runner, Jamar Hill, get caught off second base.
Young guy comes in and little indecision on his part, and then he says, I'm going to go right here. And what that is, it's just a little bit of inexperience. Jamar Hill can run. It goes back to what we're talking about. He can run, and he's got the emotions flowing, and he says, I'm going to score, I'm going to score, I'm going to show off my speed. But that's just judgment. And again, it goes back to the difference between major leaguers and minor leaguers is experience and adaptability and adjustments in the game. It's not speed. Jamar Hill can really run. But you have to learn to play the game. You have to learn how to control your emotions in making your decisions. It also helps to know the personnel, where they're playing in the outfield positioned, and how quickly they can move to the ball. It's all part of what the learning process is as you're a young guy trying to figure out how to be a major leaguer. 1-1 to Alex Cintron of the Diamondbacks. Sandy Alomar talking to him right now. Look, these guys are excited. These guys are not relaxed. We've seen some bobbles in the outfield. And you have guys 17 years old or even 23 years old, and you get a chance to play against these major league stars like they're seeing in Puerto Rico. You're not relaxed. You're not at your best. It's difficult, Steve. Well, you're excited. I mean, emotions are a big part of this game.
Cintron rips that for a base hit. Julio Ramirez gets it back in.
I really like what I just saw there, though, with Sandy Alomar Sr., talking to Jamar Hill. That's what has to happen for young players. It's one thing to make a mistake and have your head down and put your tail between the legs and go back in the dugout, but to have somebody who's been around the game, the gray hair of a Sandy Alomar, to come over and say, look, son, don't worry about it. I've seen it a million times. Hang in there. Yep. This is what you need to do. This is what you did wrong, and you're going to do fine the next time. Good coaching.
Alex Cora of the Red Sox steps in with a man on. 9th inning, 1 out. Gotten a good chance to see a lot of these young Mets of the future, and that farm system is still pretty healthy.
Hang in there, kid.
You signed a lot of these guys, Steve, huh?
A lot of them, yeah. Hang in there. It's a good young man right there. A lot of talent. He just got to figure the game out. It's all about harnessing those raw tools and transferring them into skills to play the game.
Heath Bell seems to have nice command here this inning. Let's get back to something we talked about earlier, just big picture stuff, Steve. This pitching staff for Puerto Rico, again, we went over the lineup, and it's impressive. And we saw J.C. Romero, Kiko Calero, Fernando Cabrera, some impressive names. Is it enough? Do you think they can compete? Do you think they can win facing teams like Cuba and Panama, and then eventually maybe Venezuela or the Dominican?
Well, I think the key is going to be starting pitching. I mean, remember, you get 3 games against all of the teams within your pool. You need to win 2 of the 3 most likely to advance, unless there are 3 teams that are 2-1. Javier Vasquez is a top-notch major league pitcher. Joel Pinheiro is a top-notch guy with good stuff. So they have the potential to get the kind of pitching they need. They're not dominant. They're not Johan Santana. They're not Pedro Martinez. They're not Jake Peavy. But on a given day, they can shut out major league hitters.
That ball is stroked. Cora puts one into the corner. Cintron coming around, and he's going to try to score. Relay will not be in time. Good running by this Puerto Rican team, and a triple by Alex Cora.
A good piece of hitting by Cora. I think a guy's going to be a good pickup for the Boston Red Sox this year. Ball down and in. He just pulls it down in the corner. Ball goes to the corner. The Mets are going to try to set up a relay to try to see if there's a play at the plate or at third base. And in this situation, he comes up throwing. Ramirez does a good job hitting the cutoff man. But the Mets shortstop, Coronado, another young kid, 16, 17 years old, should have been the backup on that relay as a double relay, yelling to the second baseman, third base. He was out of position. Again, I expect Sandy Alomar probably to pull him aside and say, look, we got to get in position there. Part of the learning process.
Ricky Leday steps in with a man on third and 1 out, and that's into left field. And Millage. So Lasting's Millage making the play, but it'll bring in another run with the 1 out Fly ball, 6-1, Puerto Rico over the Mets.
A good piece of hitting, but we see Lasting Milledge get a good jump on the ball right there. Nice play, and I like that he has the wherewithal to get up and still make a throw. Yes, the run's going to probably score, but maybe he falls down coming from third base home. I like the mindset there to get up, get it in quickly just in case something happened. You know, you're in spring training games and it's 6-1, and you say, well, boy, how upset will the Mets going to be that they lose this game? Spring training is more about experiencing things. It's learning, evaluating. It's not so much about winning. And they found out a lot about Lasting Milledge today. A couple of good at bats, had some arm strength, quick exchange of the ball, nice diving catch there. They've seen some of the pitching today. They're getting experience. Mike Pelfrey got some things under his belt. So wins and losses in spring training don't mean nearly as much as putting together that notebook about your organization and about your team.
0-2 to Yadier Molina. Keith Bell trying to get out of this inning, giving up 2 runs at 6-1. When you're here in the rhythm of spring training, you realize a lot of the work is done before noon. I mean, that's basically how it is. And then the younger guys will play deep into the afternoon in front of the fans. But a lot of the work is done at 8 o'clock in the morning.
It's a great point. When guys aren't playing the game that day, that's their work day. They're out on the field. They're taking 100 ground balls. They're taking 150 swings.
Stroked. But Jeff Keppinger reels it in. 2 more runs for Puerto Rico. We go to the bottom of the 9th at 6-1. As we get ready to go to San Juan, we remember Roberto Clemente, the all-time great and all-round player. Tremendous arm, great speed, hustle, a great leader, 3,000 hits. One of the best stories I've heard was from Bill Mazeroski, who heard it secondhand. On the day that he was saying goodbye and retiring, a bunch of the Pirates were in the clubhouse playing cards, and Roberto Clemente came in and said, you get up right now and you come out and you stand at attention while this man says goodbye. And everyone got up and they came outside. That's the type of man Roberto Clemente was.
I'll tell you, he played with a passion. I mean, you saw the energy of the way he played the game with reckless abandon. And I tell you what, he was a real role model for young kids in Puerto Rico. And a lot of kids played baseball, and a lot of kids are named Roberto because of Roberto Clemente.
3,000 hits, and of course on the mission of mercy, lost his life in a tragic plane crash and trying to help out those affected by a hurricane in Nicaragua. And our thoughts, by the way, go out again to Kirby Puckett, who is undergoing surgery today after suffering a stroke, another Hall of Famer. We just hope the best for Kirby, who is just such a warm human being. Pedro Feliciano is on the hill right now. Gave up that base hit. Feliciano was with the Mets organization for a number of years and pitched last year in the Japanese League, in the Pacific League to be precise. Had a decent season. Now pitching for Puerto Rico. He's going to get calmed down here as well.
I think they're actually going to take him out right now. Looks like Jose Oquendo's just practicing. He's figuring, I better go out there and make a mid-inning move here.
A 9th inning. Going to play this out a little more. We're back right after this in Port St. Lucie. Bottom of the 9th, Puerto Rico leading the Mets 6-1. Coming up after we're done here in Port St. Lucie, baseball tonight at ESPN The Weekend at Walt Disney World. That's always a blast. Big stars there all throughout the weekend. Steve, you were there yesterday. I know you were doing the baseball show with Carl Ravitch.
It was a lot of fun. I tell you, it was a lot of football players. Brent Urlacher there. And
he's there again this year? You must like it. He was there last year.
I think he brought his little daughter last year. It's so funny. We've seen Brian Urlacher, big linebacker, walking around with his daughter in a princess dress. I tell you, it's a great experience. And for those that haven't been there, it is something else.
Federico Baez comes out for the Puerto Rican team. Jose Coronado with the base hit. He's on first base. Lasting Milledge, super prospect, steps in. He's played this full game, and he skies this to center field. 1 down. What do you think of what you see so far, Steve?
Oh, I like Milledge. He's got some electricity to his body. It's what you like. Even when he jogs back to the dugout, you can see he's got life to his legs, and he likes to let that thing go. He just reaches a little bit right there, the ball out away from him. Gonna let that pitch get deeper in the zone. You see he starts to swing here, but the ball's away and he reaches to try to hit it. Julio Franco earlier today let that ball get deep, closer to the catcher, and poked it down the right field line. It's all part of experience and timing.
And here's Jeff Keppinger, another farmhand for the Mets, who's going to get a shot at that second base position. Willie Randolph telling us several times today that that job is wide open, although Kaz Matsui you would figure would be the favorite. Keppinger, good numbers in AAA, Steve, and if you could do the equivalencies, he'd be a decent major leaguer. 377 on base in Norfolk last year, 455 slugging. Broke his leg last year in June, so he's out the rest of the year, but at 26, he might get his shot at the major leagues. Left field. And 2 down. Again, we're going to be here tomorrow afternoon, Steve and I, Duke Castiglione, our whole crew, as we'll get to see the Cleveland Indians, another elite team in the American League, come in here, and hopefully we'll get to see some of these young Mets again. Keppinger, Anderson Hernandez, the guys vying for that second base spot with Kaz Matsui.
We're going to see Tom Glavine on the hill tomorrow, and Jose Lima pitching in a Mets uniform against Jake Westbrook pitching for the Indians. So that should be a fun matchup tomorrow. And the Indians no longer with Coco Crisp, and how they're going to replace his leadership and his offensive production.
They've got a lot of offense. I mean, you talk about the job that Mark Shapiro has done there, stockpiling young talent. They are stacked.
Well, that young Grady Sizemore, I mean, things turned around for the Indians last year. They actually struggled early offensively until Sizemore slotted into the leadoff spot, and what a great athlete he is.
Hector Pelot comes in, number 80. A lot of big numbers being shown off here in Mets camp.
4th round draft pick out of Puerto Rico last year, and they brought him over to give him a chance to play against the Puerto Rican team, and nice experience for him and a real thrill. He was down the batting cages hanging around with some of the major leaguers, and just with that big eyes and big ears trying to listen and see what he could gain from being around these guys that have played the game.
Mets down to their last out. Now it's 2-1. Once again in this one, Bernie Williams was the first man to bat with the Puerto Rico uniform on. He had a nice double in the 3rd inning. It was Carlos Beltran who kind of broke it open with 2 outs against Billy Wagner. That was a nice moment. Billy Wagner versus his teammate, new teammate, Carlos Beltran.
I'm not sure Billy Wagner thought it was such a good moment.
That's a good point. It was for the fans. Well, you could even see Billy Wagner coming on, and really, you're torn in these situations, Steve, where he's coming out just doing his work, and then once he got the first 2 guys on, not really getting roughed up, next thing you know, you could even see in his head, all right, I got to amp it up. Now I got Bernie Williams. Now I got Carlos Beltran. Hello.
Time to bear down a little bit and see what you can do.
Puerto Rico looking for the win in this exhibition game before they go to San Juan, where it will count. Just missed outside.
Well, the Puerto Rican team actually after the game will head to the airport. They're flying over tonight. They'll have workouts tomorrow in preparation for their Tuesday night game against Panama. We'll be calling that one as well. Listen to this. This is so atypical of spring training, folks. This is something else.
He struck him out. There we go. Puerto Rico gets the win. You wouldn't think it's an exhibition game, but a nice start as Puerto Rico gets ready to go to San Juan.
It's a lot of fun, a lot of smiles on the players' faces on both teams, and getting ready to head to Puerto Rico.
So Puerto Rico looked good today against some of the best Mets, and then the rest of the farm Mets. 6-1 the final score. We're wrapping things up. We will get ready for the World Baseball Classic. Stay here. The crowd is thrilled. Puerto Rico 6, the Mets 1. As the Met fans got to see some of their favorite Mets and some of their, turns out, favorite Yankees as well, as there was a chant for Bernie Williams here, and it was a lot of fun. And Steve Phillips, we got a chance to see the Puerto Rican team, which offensively should be very good. Pitching, I guess there's going to be some concern, and yet, but how good is Panama? How good is the Netherlands? And then how good is the wild card in all of this, Cuba?
Well, I really do think that this Puerto Rican team should make it through the first round of this tournament. They have obviously some quality major league pitching. Javier Vasquez with the big arm there. But I think that the Cuban team and the Puerto Rican team should advance out of this pool if you play the game on paper. But you know what? There are going to be a couple of upsets throughout this. And one loss to a team that you shouldn't lose to could disrupt all of your plans. Jose Oquendo is going to get these guys. We saw today, they're ready to play baseball. You got a lot of baseball players on this Puerto Rican team. They play play during the regular season, and the winter ball experience, I think, is a real advantage for the Caribbean teams. I think that this round-robin tournament is exactly what they do in winter ball. It's going to be a real asset.
If you listen to people who know the Cuban national team, you know that they play it in a different style. Tournament baseball is different than going into a regular season and then a best-of-7.
Well, I think it's interesting, the strategy. I mean, there are pedigrees with professional major league players. In Cuba, there's pedigree, but if you're not getting the job done, you're going to be benched. And I think one of the key things to watch is how managers for all the teams play with their players. If a guy's not getting it done, are they going to get him out, even if he's a star? So it's going to be very interesting to see how managers manage these teams.
All right, now Carlos Beltran again is getting a little jump start playing here again with his team. All these players had to make choices, and I wonder if it's going to be the positive choice for a lot of these players to play in the World Baseball Classic.
I think they're all going to understand this is going to be a tremendous experience, and they're going to come back and tell their teammates, and next year they're going to be ready to go.
6-1 the final score. Puerto Rico beating the Mets. Coming up next, it's Baseball Tonight at ESPN The Weekend. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Brian Kenny for Steve Phillips, Duke Castiglione, and all of us here at Port St. Lucie. We'll see you here tomorrow afternoon. The Mets and the Cleveland Indians. Let's get ready right now. Baseball Tonight at ESPN The Weekend with Carl Ravitch.